Hey kids, welcome back to another episode of Old Man Plays CFL Weekly Fantasy. Haha. Well, bad week last week. The league was not against head to head, but up against the average. And I took Chad Kelly as my quarterback, who got injured partway through the game, and that put me out of the running. If he'd stayed in, I'm fairly sure I would have gotten into the top half and had a win, but I didn't. So I'm now back to 4-4. I think I'm seventh in the league in scoring, but I'm clinging to that eighth spot for the playoffs. We'll see what happens this week. See where we go with it here. Remember, if this is any help to you at all, or if you enjoy it, please subscribe and hit the like button, drop a comment, all those things that help us out here. Anyway, they're looking at this week. It's an interesting one. We've got some rematches. We've got some games that may not be great, but could be close. Who knows? So, looking at where we're going with this stuff this week. First of all, the quarterback position. Well, Cody and Trevor both lit it up last week in Saskatchewan. I don't know they're going to do that again this week, but they might. So you may want to go there. Alexander's up against the Ottawa defense, which is not the worst in the league, but not the greatest either. But on the other hand, they've been running Thief so much that I don't know if Alexander's the guy. I'm certainly ruling out any of the backups that are in there, Brown or Salter or Trey Ford. So, and I'm not going with Jake Mayer because I've got no faith there whatsoever. VA is a great one to play, but he's up against a very tough Hamilton defense, and they've been keeping them in games the last little while until late meltdowns. I don't want to count on a late meltdown to give VA a bunch of points again, so I don't know. Maybe I don't have enough faith in you yet, VA. You're tearing up the league, but I struggle with it a little bit too much. So who does a person pick out of that whole mess? I'm thinking the best one to put up some points is possibly Trevor Harris. I may get burnt with that, but that's where I'm going with it. The defenses, that Edmonton defense is taking the ball away something fierce and looking great, and they're still only at 4.3 points. So to me, that's a no-brainer. Yes, Saskatchewan doesn't give up the ball a lot, and they may score points on them, but they may not either. And so, anyway, that's the way I'm going there. Running backs, well, Horvath, I don't know if he's starting for BC, but he's definitely in the mix with BC now that Butler's out, and he is also their short yardage guy if they keep him there. So I think he's at 6.2. He's probably going to get some points for a team. And the other one, after doing so well for a few weeks in a row now, I've got to go with Thies in Montreal. Ottawa run defense is passable but not fantastic. Who knows? They may come out with a completely different game plan in Montreal this week, but I got to take a chance on that. Oh, receivers. Well, Schaefer Baker has been consistent most of the season, so I'm going back to him. Now, you could also look at there's lots of them out there. There's the two Philpots that are there. There's who else should do fairly well? Mack certainly tore it up for Edmonton last week. So you've got that. Any of the Calgary receivers is probably a good fill in there. And then, of course, you go to Montreal where you've got Sneed and Speaker and all the rest of it. So it's tough. And you can't spend money on all those big guys all the way through. So my next one down in the second tier. Well, there was Brissett that I was looking at there a little bit. There was Eberhardt with Ottawa, who may get themselves some looks there. He's been fairly good this season. You could look at the BC receivers. If Salter has himself a hell of a game, well, he may take off with it. And there's some in that price range there too. But I'm going with Luther out of Edmonton. He's at 3.5K. I think he'll get a few catches. If he catches 3 balls for 30 yards, he's paid for himself. That left me with a lot of money to spend on the flex. Not quite 15, but a lot of money. So I looked at some of the receivers that were out there. I didn't know that I could count on them. And then I looked at Mills. He's at 13.2K. Look at how Montreal ran against that Hamilton defense. If they've got a weak spot, it's the running game. I have a feeling that Calgary is going to run quite a bit, and they match up well against Hamilton. There we go with it. Yeah, there's a lot that I could have done differently. I'm up against the Elks herd in the league this week, and I guess I've never really said to you folks, don't just play for the most points. I also scout what the other team has done and look at, is there anybody that I have to either take or avoid because of what they do. Scouting the Elks herd shows that they are consistently good and consistently different each week. So they're very good at picking out the players that they need. That's why I've just ignored what they've done and gone with the best team I can put together this week. So there it is. Little look behind the curtain anyway. But so just to recap, there's my team. The defense is the Edmonton Elk. Quarterback is Trevor Harris from Saskatchewan. Running backs are Thies out of Montreal and Horvath out of BC. Wide receivers are Schaefer Baker to team him up with Harris, and Luther out of Edmonton. My flex is a running back this week. Dedrick Mills out of Calgary. So that's it. That's basically me just going for the best score I can this week. I have no idea. Them's my picks. As I say every week, use them at your peril. Good luck with it all. Good luck with your fantasy. Good luck with your pick'em. Let's hope we see some good games. That Winnipeg BC one, who knows? It could be exciting as hell, or it could be a real dud. Will this be the week that Ottawa manages to get a win? Montreal's been looking very, very good, but they also haven't been steamrolling people. So, Edmonton and Saskatchewan, does it live up to what last week was? If so, wow. And what can Ford do in Hamilton? Can he work some magic there? I can't wait to see it all. Hopefully I'm in just as good a mood after the weekend as I am now. But that's about it. Old man signing off.